you don't know who you're trying to sell to. You're trying to literally sell to everybody. You're trying to literally be friends with everybody. And the whole premise of what I coach on is we're replacing networking in real life with networking online. So instead of having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go have a bad cup of coffee, you can connect with those same people online. And then when you go and meet them, you're having a strategic conversation.
Guys, Justin Brock here, back at it again with another episode of the Insurance Gurus. I have my man Steven Martinez with us, Chief Marketing Officer of Bobby Brock Insurance and BBI Marketing. And I also have our good friend Sandra here. She is going to help us learn a little more about insurance marketing and some of the trends that she's seeing. And hopefully we can help some of you guys clear the confusion that's out there, because there's a lot of good and bad information all over the internet. So
absolutely. I love our guest that we have on today. I had a pleasure of meeting her at the 8% Nation for the first time this past year. And she kind of blew me away. I got a chance to talk with her a little bit after that, and I was really impressed with her. I was so impressed that we have decided to have Sandra as part of our Medicare Con.
Yep.
So we are excited about that.
Absolutely. Sandra's going to be at Medicare Con 2022 in April of next year. Shameless plug, MedicareCon.com. Check it out if you haven't got your ticket. They will sell out in January because everybody's super rich in Medicare in January. So, so Sandra, thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
You bet. Doing good. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, Sandra, I want to just get started asking a little bit about your background, how you got into marketing and insurance with a focus on the insurance.
Yeah. Please explain that a little bit for those that are unfamiliar with you. I know you do a lot of social media marketing, but my big question was, how did you get into the insurance, or why did you focus on the insurance exactly? I know you do a lot more industries, but if you could just expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, you bet. So just like everybody except for Joe Campert, I didn't grow up wanting to be an insurance agent, right? I kind of fell into it and found that I had a real gift for it. So one of my biggest issues, hangups, not great qualities, can't think of another word right now, is I'm a terrible employee. So when I found something that I could kind of run on my own, I was like, this is where I should have been the whole time. There's two things that made me fall in love with insurance. One, it was that freedom to be able to write my own paycheck. I started out as a sales agent, got licensed, and just picked up the phone and started calling people, old school, if you will. Like I had to push the buttons on it and everything. I didn't even have a dialer. So I got into that. And then the other side of it was, there's zero education for insurance. You don't have to learn about insurance to get your driver's license. You don't have to learn about insurance to buy a car, to buy a house, to go to the doctor, right? There's no education out there. So when I found that insurance really is a big, super big deal, right? No matter what line of insurance it is, you want to make sure you have the right insurance. So I fell in love with being able to help people solve these problems. So I went through working with a guy in a captive P&C agency, ended up managing part of his book, and then ended up buying part of that book. And through that process, I fell in love with social media marketing as a whole, paid advertising, and then the organic, meaning the free, just building up your own personal brand on social media throughout that process. So about 6 months into us owning our agency, my husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And that was a little over 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago now. So what we know, those of us that have been around for just a minute, even, a short time like myself, the automation technology wasn't there. So I was able to generate leads. I was able to generate interest, but I wasn't able to work from the Mayo Clinic when we had to go down there and fight those battles. And then there was a lot of stuff we had to do here. It's an hour drive from my small town in Montana to our big city that has 100,000 people in it. To get to the office. So it threw everything off. So we ended up selling the agency. And as somebody that's a little bit, I don't like to be told what to do. I think I've kind of made that clear just with everybody. The doctors told us we wouldn't be able to have kids because of Darian's particular brain tumor. And we found out we were pregnant with Gage 2 weeks before we left for the month-long trip to go get his brain tumor out. So now we've sold the agency. I'm going to have a baby. My husband's recovering from a brain tumor. We've been married for, I think, a year by now, right at a year or so. So a lot of stuff was happening at the same time. And when I signed the paperwork to sell my agency, the guy sent it to me the day Darren was actually getting the tumor out. And he's like, I need this back right away. So I just went in and blindly signed it. I was like, whatever, I don't even care, right? Like, I don't suggest doing that ever. Always have somebody look at paperwork you're signing, because here's why. When I came back, I said, what does every P&C agent do when they sell? Go over to life and health, right? Vice versa. So I was following my path. I was going to go sell life insurance and become a quadrillionaire life insurance agent. Well, turns out, as I started that process, the guy I sold the book back to, he said, well, you have a 5-year non-compete clause that you signed in your contract. You can't write insurance in Montana or any surrounding state for 5 years. And I was like, oh, cool.
That was any line of insurance.
Any line of insurance and any connecting states. It was brilliant on his side. So I decided that I hired some mentors, and I was like, maybe I really love the digital marketing aspect of things. I love the additional freedom. I work from home. I'm actually in my living room or my kitchen dining room right now. Boy, words are hard for me today. This is going to be fun. We're just getting started, boys. And so I got into that. I've ran numerous paid ad accounts, paid generating leads. I did that for a few years. And then in the last year, I've really gotten into coaching agents on how to use their actual free social media platforms to build up their own personal brand. And that was kind of born out of watching agents kind of spin their wheels. Like you said at the beginning of this, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of noise coming out. There used to be very few people that did this, and now there's a lot. So
one of the things that I see agents doing that I've tried to tell them not to do is adding, and I'm not saying don't be friends with a few insurance agents or a few insurance influencers that help you with good information or something like that. But I see so many insurance agents that have 800 friends on their list that are national insurance agents all over the place. And I'm like, well, they're not really prospects for you. And if you're not selling a lot of insurance and your goal is to sell a lot more insurance, I think you should be adding people actually in your community or actually in the demographic that you're trying to target, so that you have a more target-rich environment within your friends list. So when they start doing stuff like you're saying, using that page to begin to organically grow traffic or their actual profile and their profile and pages, that they're not targeting a bunch of insurance agents. They're like, okay, great idea, but I'm not going to buy that from you. I'll sell it to myself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that stems from, people don't truly understand the power of that organic growth and what that can do for your business.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And part of it too, expanding on that is you don't know who you're trying to sell to. You're trying to literally sell to everybody. You're trying to literally be friends with everybody. And the whole premise of what I coach on is we're replacing networking in real life with networking online. So instead of having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go have a bad cup of coffee, you can connect with those same people online. And then when you go and meet them, you're having a strategic conversation. So we're not just putting stuff out to try to get 5,000 friends and and connect with anybody you can connect with. So there are very few people that should be connecting with agents because that's part of their marketing plan. But it's, in my opinion, every agent should have 3 legs of their marketing plan. They should have an organic, a free social media pages that are out there, an organic approach, a paid approach, and then referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a plan, right? Steven's like, yes, you have to have a plan, marketing plan. That's what he does. You have to have a marketing plan for each one of those legs. So if you're just saying, I'm going to put information out and hopefully somebody will come to me, you can't build those connections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the organic approach is often overlooked and everybody skips right to the paid. But organic flow and referrals have a much higher lifetime value as well over paid. I'm not saying we do a lot of paid advertising, but
everybody is so eager to spend money.
Yeah, they just want to spend. Well, they want the cheap leads.
Skip right over the free stuff.
Seems to be so easy to sell cheap leads. Now, most of the time those suck and they don't bear any fruit. Occasionally you can have a honey hole maybe that before it gets kind of exacerbated. But most of the time, if you see somebody, like, I hate this. One of my least favorite things I see online is when people talk about, look at how, like, they'll have a screenshot of their ads account and they're like, look at this, $1.13 a lead. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, what, like your
campaign's been running for 5 days.
Yeah. I've got a $1.13 lead. What are you asking for? Okay. Name and email. Okay. If you are asking for a phone number, what are you saying in the ad? Is it compliant? And I see a lot of these ads that are just like way out of whack on compliance too, especially now this new, like in the Medicare side, some of the stuff they're saying to get this, it's just clickbaity. And so, and there's a way to, like, when you're setting an expectation for a paid lead calls, we set a higher expectation and people kind of come, I can get that for X. And I'm like, I just don't believe it anymore. And I have consistently having to tell agents that we work with, like if somebody's telling you they're getting, high quantities of high quality leads at under $5 a lead on Facebook, like, I'm automatically calling BS, like that's not, because if it was there, some other people would figure it out and all of a sudden it'd be more expensive because they'd all be competing.
So, and if you could, so picture this, you cracked Facebook and you can get high intent leads for $1 a lead. You're going to sell them to an agent for $1 a lead? Hell no.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell them to IFG for a whole bunch of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So
I'm going to write them myself or I'm going to sell them. There's guys out there selling the highest quality lead flow on the internet for $70 a lead.
Right. It's only, you would have to be some sort of lead gen company and not a licensed insurance agent. If you're a licensed insurance and you can generate leads for that much, I'm going to do that as much as possible.
Just sell them yourself and grow a call center too. And that's the the lead game. And that's why I like the position that you take on growing the organic reach first.
The free stuff, your warm market is absolutely the best place to start because they're going to be your biggest raving fans.
Yeah. So let's talk about things not to do. So Sandra, what's the number one mistake you see an agent making on Facebook or Instagram in what they post? What's or number one, number two, number three, top three thing that you see somebody doing?
I'm brand new. I'm in the industry. I've got my ads account. I've got my Facebook account set up. What do I not need to do?
Okay, so I talk like Tim Grover, so everything's the number one thing. The number one thing is your works at, right? So first, everything needs to be from, okay, we're backing all the way up. Hit the brakes. Everything needs to be from your personal profile. Okay. So everything needs to go from your personal profile, and you need to have a business page that says works at, mine says works at Sandra Gephardt, right? Because when people go to make a buying decision, they want to be able to make that buying decision quickly. So they need to know where you work at, and then that page needs to be clean, right? It needs to have every way to contact you that you're willing to communicate with people, because I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to email you. If I can't message you or text you, I'm going to move on to the next agent. That's me. That's my buying decision. If you don't want to text, that's fine. You're just going to miss out on some of those people. You don't have to be all things to everybody, but that needs to be organized. If you're with a captive carrier, if you're with a company, you still need to have your own branding. Okay. Because you're not likely, I didn't stay with Allstate forever, right? I never branded myself as Sandra Gebhardt Allstate. It was always Sandra Gebhardt Insurance. And had I not signed a stupid contract, it would still be Sandra Gebhardt Insurance. And I'd be selling life insurance, or actually probably Medicare for you, out of that brand. So you always want to make sure that you're branding yourself, okay? Not your company, because you're going to build know, like, and trust with people, and they will follow you. I still get messages I get a handful of messages a month of people that still are like, oh yeah, you sell insurance, right? And then they'll send me they want me to quote their insurance. Yeah. So it's, you don't want to make any big changes as you progress in your life with your brand. You just want it to kind of always be you. The next thing is you have to understand that you are a brand, whether you want to be or not. So I want my business to be business and my personal life to be personal. That doesn't work anymore because we're too public. You have to be on social media. If you think about it, has anybody seen any commercials for Medicare this year? Did any of them go across the TV at all? Right? Text messages and emails. How easy is it? How easy is it to buy Medicare? I sat with my grandpa and he's like, well, I want that free insurance. Right? And I'm like, but I know better because I know you guys. That's the only reason. Before 8% this year, I'd have been like, well, yeah, let's call them and see what's going on. Right? We don't know. So it's your job to educate everybody on what they should be doing. So not only are you combating national companies and the government, everybody else spending millions and millions of dollars telling people how cheap, free, and easy insurance is to get. So if you're going to hide in your shell and you're going to say, I am a trusted advisor, I am somebody that is here to help people with a problem, or there's some people that are on the other side of the coin and they're like, I do want to help people, but I want to make a shitload of money at the same time, right? Either side of the coin that you're on, it doesn't matter. But if you're not telling people that message, if you're not letting people know what your goals are, if you're not building that know, like, and trust, they're just going to call the 1-800 insurance number and buy insurance. And they should, because they don't know any better. So in my opinion, it is extremely important for insurance agents. I feel like the second you pass that test, it is your obligation, your moral duty to let as many people know as you can that you can help them, that you have the right situation, the right plan for them, that if they buy it online, they're likely going to have the wrong plan, that they need to sit down with a trusted insurance professional, which is you, and you're going to help them walk through all of this noise. So you need to get out of that mindset of my personal life is personal and my business is business. You have a moral obligation to let everybody know what you do. Now, the caveat on that is if you get in a fight with your wife on the way to work, you don't need to tell everybody that. There's a difference between oversharing and letting people know, like, and trust you, which is why I say we're replacing networking in real life with networking online. So what would you say at a networking event? That's what you're saying online. Okay. The next one is every time somebody posts, I just saved somebody $100 on their insurance, I die a little inside. It literally takes a little piece of me away. Okay. Yeah. You have to tell stories that other people can see themselves in. So we're inherently selfish as people in general, right? Marketing, the general rule of marketing is perception is reality. So you have to build the perception. You have to let people know, this is what I do every single day. This is why I love it. And then when you're telling stories, you need to let them see themselves in it so that they can make the decision to reach out to you as well.
Yeah. Facts tell, stories sell. So so I like that. Going back to so with the story concept, I know some people are bad and good at all these different things. So some people don't consider themselves good storytellers. But it's not that difficult. You just to actually explain what the story that they told you and write it out narratively. It doesn't have to be, put through Grammarly or anything. The last thing you were saying
is not getting graded by
it's not getting graded by your reading teacher. So when you said though, some people want to keep their personal lives personal and their business lives business. It's so interesting that you say that, because I get really irritated when I see people act that way, but then pretend like they want this huge agency out there that I want to be this and I want to make X number of money and I want.
But I don't want to let anybody into my personal life.
But I got to keep that separate. I'm like, brother, it doesn't work that way. Like, you have to put it all out there. I mean, unless you're some sort of fortune path, private equity ninja that just already comes from money and has has their hands and tentacles and all kinds of money. But a typical person going rags to riches that's growing a business from scratch, they got to let everybody know what they did.
Well, I think what happens too is, we've come where the guys that are coming up now, the 20 to 25-year-olds, they've had a Facebook profile their entire life. And, who knows what they were posting at 15, 16, 17. And it's, probably still out there on the interweb somewhere, and so they're like, I don't want to have anybody connect. Go through there and clean that up.
Yeah.
Clean that mess up.
Yeah.
You can always go back as far as you want on your timeline. Delete post, edit post, clean it up.
Yeah.
Well, and people love the connection. And that's the whole thing here is, imagine, again, really think about it like networking. Imagine I walk up to Justin and I'm like, Justin's like, hey, Sandra, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry, Justin, I want my personal life to be personal and my business to be business. Ask me business questions. Like, come on.
If you could only ask me things pertaining to my business, I would really appreciate it. No, I have, the same thing happens with some of the older generation. Like, well, when I first came into the business, they told me that people aren't buying Medicare on the internet, which I thought, I was like, yeah, no, they are. I promise you. And I proved that. And then now the same guys that said that just said, well, time for me to retire. You can run things. But then, also sometimes I deal with older agents. There's like, I don't like putting all this stuff on the internet. I put up a post the other day that was way more controversial than I thought it was. I can't remember exactly how I worded it, but I said something about, if you're not like, not being findable online is the modern day equivalent to driving around town in a white, a regular size white van with free candy written on the side. And what I was meaning was, if you try to apply for a job with me and I can't find you online, you may be a good person, but I don't know. And it's a little weird to me that you don't have a LinkedIn or you don't have a Facebook page or you don't have an Instagram. And I'm not saying like it's not an appearance thing. I'm not looking like, oh, you're pretty enough. Like, it's not about that. It's just about seeing that you're a normal human. That's all I want to know, because there's a lot of people that are jackasses and I'm trying to weed them out.
To Sandra's point, people want to connect with people that they can share things with. And if they can share that experience or feel like they at least know you that one little bit, that gives you a little bit of an edge of, building that relationship and acquiring them as a client.
Yeah.
Who's a great example of that? I don't know if you've met him, Johnny Brock. Like, in all seriousness, the day he buys that Rolex, are we not all going to feel like we were part of that journey?
Yeah.
Like, I hear him talk about it, and he posts pictures about it, and he talks about how he's taken extra late appointments and stuff because he has this journey. And I know the Rolex is just one little piece of it, but I promise you, the day he posts that, he's going to have 500, 1,000 interactions on that, because we're all watching him go on this journey together. And it's actually giving me goosebumps even thinking about it. And I'm not even sure I've met Johnny in person yet. So people say, well, you can't make a real relationship with people.
That's it.
You can. You
Yeah.
absolutely can. But here's my challenge for your thinking on this. If you're listening to this and you're like, these guys are full of it, I go to networking events, and that's where I do my networking. That's great. Let's say you go to 5 networking events a week. That's what I was doing. 5. That was my standard. And then I went to the silent auction, and I stopped by the baseball game, and I was everywhere, physically everywhere all the time. That's how I started to get to meet people. Well, I realized that I had a husband, and my time wasn't my own anymore. I was part of a team, right? So now I'm dragging him to these events so we can spend time together, right? Now imagine being able to take that 15 to 20 hours a week, because you're not going to convince me it's any less, right? Plus all the money, and spending time with your kids and spending time with your family, or reading a book, or unplugging for a minute, but you can still make all of those same connections online. And now when you go to an event, now when you show up to Medicare Con, you're saying, Justin, I've been following you for a while. I saw that your wife is absolutely killing it with her blog, and I'm really enjoying following her. Now it's not, hi, my name's Sandra. What do you do? Where are you from? You're able to have a real conversation. So now the events you do go to, you're monetizing the relationships, and it is okay to monetize things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you can add value to somebody else,
You're cutting out that small talk stage, that awkward small talk stage, and you're getting.
Yeah. You're going right up to Johnny and be like, you got that Rolex yet? You're automatically talking about something that you know about them before you've even technically met them. Or if you have met someone, but you don't see them but once a year, all the gap is kind of filled in. And I mean, you don't know everything, but you know enough to carry on a conversation right away. So, you could shout out something across the room to start a conversation with somebody when you go to an event that you haven't seen in, 9 months, because you know what they've been up to. So,
that's how I met your entire team at 8%. Like, everybody that had one of your shirts on, I was like, Justin? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, who are you? And then I was like, there's way too many people with these shirts on for me to keep doing this. Can somebody just introduce me to Justin? And it kind of turned into this joke between me and all of these random people that I was like, Justin? But I knew your logo going in, even though we had only met in Clubhouse, briefly before that. But I knew enough to be dangerous. If you know enough to be dangerous and you can carry on a conversation, the world's your oyster.
That's right. No more stranger danger. So, well, awesome.
And then that's the way it almost feels when you don't have that Facebook profile. Stranger danger, right?
That's why I said that, and I had a lot of probably more like 55-year-old, 50-year-old men that were insurance agents that were like, I just have this profile. I don't put anything on it, and they weren't really getting what I was saying. I was they were kind of like offended that I was saying, that you have to have. And I said, well, you're on Facebook. First of all, you're arguing with me and you have a profile. My main thing was like, you have to have a profile. A lot of times all I do when we have people that will apply is we'll comb through them, or somebody in the office will comb through them and look for a profile. Take out the guy with the cover photo with double middle finger and be like, okay, maybe not him. The guy smoking a joint in his profile picture. Maybe that's not a good choice, that he made there and putting that as his profile picture. I have no problem with him doing that, but profile pictures, probably not a good choice that you put that out there. And then find the person's, okay, it's a guy bass fishing. It's a private profile. His name's, Tim Roberts or whatever. And that was what most of these guys that were complaining about it. And I'm like, I would have seen you and been like, okay, this is a normal guy. He's got a private profile picture. He's catching a bass, whatever. That's a normal guy. I would have still considered calling that person. But the whole point of that is like just being able to weed out the good from the bad. And the same thing when I'm finding the people that are actively marketing themselves online, you can easily find people that like, well, maybe I don't want to be affiliated with that guy. He's too brazen on X topic, and that's not. I don't really know if I could align with that well. It's just the same way if you go out and network. Now I have to make small talk to find out if I even want to talk to you. I mean, I don't know how many times you've probably been out networking. You're 5 minutes into a conversation. You're like, wish I wouldn't have entered this one. There's plenty of people here that would have been a better conversation. So, the internet just kind of speeds that up for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's a tool like any other tool. So it's just a matter of if you want to monetize it or not.
Yeah.
To make your life easier.
Hey, I'm all about monetizing. We want to monetize, all kinds of things when we can add value. That's the big question is, if I can add value, what does it matter if you pay me for something? I don't go to gas stations and the lady that's checking me out is like really upset that she has to sell me the Diet Coke.
Your money's no good to me unless I earned it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's plenty of ways to earn it. And you can definitely make those connections on the internet as well as in person. So, well, Sandra, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way? I mean, you're kind of a little bit of everywhere online, but what's the number one platform right now for you?
I'm always available on Facebook. So you can direct message me anytime. If you have a question, direct message me. And then my website, sandragebhart.com.
Sandra Gebhart. And it's Gebhart, right?
DT. They snuck a D in there.
Okay. Gebhardt.
Yep.
That's why I was afraid to butcher that, but I did.
For like the first 30 days that we were married, Darren's like, there's a D in our last name. I was like, my last name was Smith before that.
So easy. The only good thing about Sandra, and now you know this, the great thing about not having a super common name is you might be able to get your domain. Sandra Smith was probably taken.
It was done. It was already gone.
Stephen Martinez has been taken for a long time.
Yeah, they're holding that one hostage for a large ransom that I'm never going to pay.
I actually had to buy Justin Brock from a guy for $4,000.
He was actually a pretty successful pro skateboarder.
No, I bought it from him. He was a marketer.
A marketer, yeah, that's right.
He was like a Google AdWords guy, and he bought the domain and turned it into a resume for himself.
Yeah.
So when he was
that his name, or did he just?
His name was Justin Brock.
Oh,
and he actually lived in Mississippi as well, and he had a son named Jackson, and I have a son named Jackson,
and they're about the same age.
They were about the same age.
And I think him and Justin were only a couple of years apart in age.
So I ended up. I had actually tracked him down and this is something that is so funny. This is my tip now. I got a tip. Persistence. I wrote this guy on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on platforms for several years on and off.
With no response.
I went through his resume on his site, emailed him. I went through his phone, tried to call him, text him, nothing. One day, 3 or 4 years into this, probably 3 years into trying to get a hold of him, he responds back to me on LinkedIn, and he's interested in selling the domain to me. And then I'd been drinking, and I threw out $4,000, and which is totally worth it. I'd have paid more, but I threw out $4,000, and he's like, "Okay, I'll take $4,000."
But he probably could have got it for less.
I probably could have got it for less, but I gave him $4,000 for it. I'd have paid at this point. I'd have paid a lot more for it just to have it. Because Gary Vaynerchuk said, buy your name domain. And I'd been trying to do it ever since I heard him say that. But my other tip is that persistence on DMing people. And I don't mean spam DM trying to sell somebody something. But when I'm trying to develop a connection with somebody, I like to invite them on our podcast or invite them to do something with us. Invite them. This is the cool thing about having some sort of platform is invite them to just come hang out with us virtually for a little bit, and then we can promote their stuff. And I've gotten, some pretty big guys now by just persistently DMing them, even when I'm like, they're ignoring me. What do I have to lose? I've got Matt Zapala that way. Patrick Bet-David has responded to me that way. Grant Cardone's office has responded to me that way. And some of these people I haven't interviewed yet, but we're in there's actually talks, and it was never the first DM. It was like most of these people, it was like the 7th or 8th time over a couple of years that I DM'd them that eventually they pulled you over. You think about how many people DM some of those people, And,
Never get anywhere, probably.
yeah. I mean, I had a couple of guys in the past couple of days that had 6 figures in Instagram followers, and IG seems to be the place to do that for me. I think Facebook is our biggest platform, YouTube second, but as far as like communication that way, it's LinkedIn and Instagram. People tend to respond, and Instagram works better because LinkedIn has so many spam messages now.
Yeah. Well, and everybody that's listening, like, you may not be trying to get Grant Cardone, but you may be trying to get Justin Brock, right? Like that's exactly how we ended up here. That's exactly how I earned a spot at Medicare Con. Was I thought through what I wanted to do. So I do what I coach, right? Like interacted with you a little bit, met you, and then I shot my shot, right? And I said, hey Justin, I'm interested in seeing if I can be involved in Medicare Con.
Absolutely. And if anybody's out there that wants to be on our podcast, and especially what we're looking for right now is being on other people's podcasts. So anybody that has a podcast, we would like to participate in it. We're in that mode right now where we want to try to get on as many of them as possible. So please reach out, and we will definitely consider it. If not, for sure, do it pretty much right now. So
build your personal brand awareness.
Yeah. We're, and I think some people probably avoid DMing me because I'll get a lot of, it's crazy. Some of the things I get DM'd, I am like I'll get hundreds of underwriting emails and messages from people. And a lot of times there'll be these really lengthy things. First, there's a trick. Don't send me a book. I just I immediately look at it and I'm like, and I can tell you this, most people that are like really successful in the branding space have an attention span about this big.
Yeah.
So send send me just something quick, quick and witty and asking, because I'm liable to read that and then I can form a response really quick and start to dialogue. I actually, even if somebody's not friends with me, I often check my message requests on Instagram and Facebook so I can find the ones that have, didn't come to my actual inbox. And I found out that people with millions of followers even do that sometimes. They don't always, but if you message them enough and you keep that up there, eventually they'll check that message request folder or that general folder or primary, whatever they call it on Instagram. They'll find you and they'll pull you over.
They'll click your name, say, okay, what is this guy talking about? What is he so persistent about? And
once they've clicked you and respond to you, like on Instagram and Facebook, what happens is now you become part of their primary folder.
Yeah.
And then you can pretty much communicate with them. So these people that have actually talked to me now, if they've responded and I go and write them, they see it and they respond to me now because I'm in their primary folder, which is pretty cool. But it's not like it's not because I'm anybody special. So a lot of the people that I'm writing have no idea who I am. But then what do you think happens? Like Tim's story was that way.
Yep.
I just messaged him and I'd been messaging him for a little bit and he started responding. And then I messaged his assistant. We got it set up. And then when I interviewed Tim's story, he said in preparation interview, he watched 5 of my YouTube videos. So I just think it's cool, and it's like, this is a guy that, has hung out with Oprah and does some pretty cool stuff.
Life coach for Oprah.
Yeah. And he's watching my YouTube videos. But then I was listening to, this is at every level, guys. I think Patrick Bet-David's a pretty big deal at this point. And he was on Joe Rogan's podcast and they had never met. And they opened it up with Joe Rogan telling him that he had been watching him for a while. And that's why he invited him on. So Joe Rogan invites him on because he'd been watching his content. Patrick Bet-David's kind of like floored, like, wow, Joe Rogan's watching my content. But so it's like every level, you know what I mean? Like of what you're trying to do. And it's not about fame. It's about attention.
Yeah. So Joe, if you're watching this podcast.
Yeah, Joe, if you're watching, we will consider being on the Joe Rogan Experience.
That's the 3 of us. I think it's listening.
Yeah.
But on that, I love that the persistence, the having a plan, but then also having the grace and understanding. So just my numbers myself, I average somewhere between 400 and 600 direct messages a week. on Facebook specifically. So what'll happen sometimes is they'll get that courage up and they'll shoot me a message and ask me, for a free tip or something, which I'm happy to do anytime, but they might get pushed down. And then they get maybe a little bit aggressive and then a little bit more aggressive. And now I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So you have to remember that even though your mom said you're the center of the world, you're not at the same time. So you have to extend that grace out to people and say, hey, I'm super, if you have the time, or and shoot a reminder out.
If you read mine over, like I messaged Grant Cardone probably for 4 years, just on DMs, but every one of them, I'm like the nicest guy in the world. Like, I'm not going to go on there and be like, oh, I can't believe you won't respond to me. What a jerk,
And you got to think, he's going to see this one. This is the first one he's going to read.
Yeah. If I'm messaging it every time, I should think maybe you'll read this one, maybe you'll read this one. I don't want the first one to be like, you asked what. But I think sometimes they don't. It's like some of those people actually believe you read it and ignored them. I think a lot of these people, they're not reading it because there's just such a volume. It's impossible. Even Gary Vaynerchuk's a big proponent in trying to read and respond to a lot of his comments. Like, he personally does that. But he'd obviously tell you there's no way he reads every comment. There's too many of them. He tries to. Even Grant does. And on Instagram, I see him regularly. Normally when he posts, and this is another tip, by the way. If you're trying to get in touch with somebody that has a large following, put on turn on notifications for them. And when they posted something, especially on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, when they posted something, they're probably live on there right now, or someone's on their account. And if you throw something through, they might get that little drop down notification that pops up. Then they go over and check it. So a lot of times it's just timing, So definitely persistence. And if you're not trying to get the attention of those people, think about the same concept when you're trying to get clients. Like, when you're trying to call these people, we tell people, everybody triple dial. I'd say we're probably in the quadruple dial phase now, and then you text them and then call. And it's because people are ignoring that stuff, not because they're ignoring you, but because they're getting so much spam. You have to do something to stand out.
But I've been away from my phone for 52 minutes. So you can't even keep up.
Yeah. Well, we always associate you with the pink too, because you're sporting the pink backgrounds everywhere. So it's interesting to see you on a yellow wall.
Yeah.
So, well, awesome, Sandra. Well, hey, we really appreciate you doing this. If people are reaching out to you, definitely reach out to her on Instagram and Facebook. I see you're active on those platforms, and she definitely has some good tips.
And I was going to say, go check her profiles out. Lots of good information she's throwing out there for free, no cost to you, that you can instantly start implementing and start getting results from. And I think if you go there, you listen to what she's doing, and you're actually putting it in place, you'll see that she has a lot of value.
That's another tip. If you want to emulate if you find somebody that's doing social media well, just look at what they're doing,
replicate it.
A lot of times when I'm like, I'm a proponent in courses and things, and we have courses and we have consultants, and we've hired SEO consultants and all that. Definitely a time and place for that. But one of the first steps somebody can take when they have no money is just go and follow the people that are doing it well and look at what they are doing.
Yep.
Because what they are doing is probably an indicator of what they believe in. You know what I'm going to do? You guys got me all hyped up over here. This Santa Claus shirt on. I'm hyped right now. So for your audience, if they have purchased a Medicare Con ticket for 2022, I will do a free personal profile review for them. All right.
You just need to send me proof.
You hear that? If you have purchased a Medicare Con ticket, send proof over to Sandra, and she will do a profile audit.
You should have an email receipt of that from Eventbrite.
All you gotta do is take a screenshot of it.
Screenshot it, send it to Sandra, and she will review your profile.
Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we'll surely have you on in the future. And if you don't see her before, you could see her in April at Medicare Con. So get your ticket and then send it over to her. And then by the time you meet her in person, she'll have already audited your profile. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the podcast. Please rate the podcast. If you're on YouTube, please like it and comment. Comments really, really are the lifeblood of engagement on these and really help us find more people, help more people. And the more the merrier in this community. We're a very, very fragmented industry, and this content helps bring us together, and that's what we're all about. So.
Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast.
Yep. Spotify, Apple, and YouTube are definitely the three, most engaging platforms. So check it out. And thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Insurance Gurus.